I've watched a whole bunch of those videos. I remember of trying to destroy it, but it just doesn't. Um, yeah, this
Well,
is one of them.
I really this is the intro video you did with Bill Vass, and I liked his ending shot with the puppies. I think he had one near his water fountain, if I remember correct. There, yeah, here we go. That was clever.
Yeah. So funny thing, I think this was back in 2015 or maybe early 2016. This was before. This was one of my first EBCs that I actually did at AWS, and this was when you guys didn't have the EBC center. So it was literally just walking into the AWS offices and meeting with the folks who were there. And I think we were supposed to meet with somebody, I forget who, and that person was not available or was trying to get from another building over to the building where we were. And so we were literally just walking around the corridor, trying to grab a coffee or whatever, and we run into Bill Vass. And so Bill invited us, and then we started chatting, and we were telling him about how hard it was for us to move a whole bunch of our data from an acquisition that was recent at that time. And Bill was like, hey, you know what? We have this new thing called a snowball, and we'd love for you to try it. And I think we got one of the very first snowballs shipped to us as part of the experimental, let's try and move data centers into AWS very, very quickly. I think it took us like 3 attempts to get it done, debugging and figuring out the solution. But it was awesome. It was such a game changer. When you have data centers that have tons of workloads that are running over there, to be able to just suck it all up, put it onto this snowball machine, and have it show up in your AWS account. That is absolutely remarkable.
It's worked out really well. And one thing that's really interesting to me is that this is an evolution of something that we had started quite a bit earlier in the history of AWS, where when customers needed to do data migration to the cloud, we said, literally send us your hard drives. And
Yeah,
we had some specs as to what kind of drives they could send and how they'd prepare the data. And there were some really interesting challenges with that, as you can imagine. And then evolving from that into an actual, like, we'll build a device, we'll send you a device that is really good at actually pulling it's got the right level of storage, it's rugged, it's got the right level of connectivity so that it doesn't take you actually months or years to get all the data onto it.
Yep. No, absolutely. These are absolutely fantastic machines on the edge. So, just moving on to the next question. How are people using these devices on the edge other than backing up stuff and moving them to AWS?
So the newest Snowball Edge devices, they have a substantial amount of compute power on board. So the Snowball Edges, you can get them with GPUs, so you can do various kinds of image processing, you can do machine learning inferencing. And so what I like to think of them in general, beyond the kind of the mainstream use case of let's get data from somewhere out there into AWS. The other one is basically almost like a filtering system that says we've got this massive amount of raw data we are generating, collecting at the edge, but we don't necessarily need all of it. And so we either need to pick the small set of that we would like to take, or we need to sum it up, aggregate it, pre-process it in some way, and then pass it up to the cloud. So I kind of think of it as this the filtering, aggregation, gathering, buffering device.
Got it. Any other interesting stories around any of these devices?
So I've had several of them in my house for various photo shoots, and they are somewhat unique looking. And I actually did have I had a Snowball Edge, which is a pretty heavy device. And I took one and I needed to return it to Amazon after I'd done my photo shoot. I actually took a picture of my dog Luna with it. She was very happy to be in the photo. And I carried it down the hill to the local UPS store. And I was expecting the the guy behind the counter, I was expecting to have to explain what this was and why it was safe to ship and everything. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, another one of these cool things." So it wasn't as amazing or unique as I was expecting. Which is like, I'm thinking, here I am in this residential neighborhood. Like, which ones of my neighbors are doing this massive amount of data transport to the cloud? It's a little bit interesting to think that kind of activity is somehow taking place within a little radius of my neighborhood.
With the assumption that there aren't any data centers around there, it sounds scary that people are running those kind of workloads from their homes.
You really just never know.